at the moment. So my brother's coming to get me. We're going to go for a walk around town centre. And I'm going on holiday on Wednesday, so I'd like to see my brother before I go. So we've had quite an interesting morning. We've done a sort of Memphis Mafia artificial intelligence video. We're reviewing that. These AI videos, they're pretty naff, to be honest with you. I have found a couple of defending Elvis AI videos, but generally they're pretty crap. They stereotype Elvis. This whole YouTube video with the Memphis Mafia really sort of stereotypes Elvis as this strange person that had this strange group around him called the Memphis Mafia. I don't like it. Elvis was so much more than the way he's portrayed. The way that this AI video portrayed him, and the way that they described the Memphis Mafia, almost like the real mafia. Hi Emma, I'm just walking back to my home to see my brother. I want to carry on discussing the way that Elvis is so unfairly portrayed by this particular AI video that we were discussing this morning. I've only played 10 minutes of it. It really did make Elvis sound like he had this very strange group around him called the Memphis Mafia. Now, anything that Elvis does is going to come across different than the average person's life, because it's Elvis Presley, the most famous man in the world, living in Graceland, surrounded by bodyguards. There's nothing strange about a very famous person being surrounded by bodyguards. It's completely normal. They have to be protected 24 hours of the day. All celebrities that have that kind of fame, that are mobbed wherever they go, will need 24-hour protection, and generally they have everything done for them, don't they? Being cooked for, cleaned for, generally looked after, yeah? Almost like living in a hotel. That's the life you live when you're a celebrity. But I'll tell you now, except for the fact that Elvis had this amazing talent with his beautiful voice and looks and a beautiful golden heart, he's as normal as they come. If you look at Elvis, if you go back in time and you go to the late 40s, the early 50s, even from the moment he was born, obviously born into poverty, wasn't he? He's as normal as they come. He had a very normal childhood from the point of view of a person that was very poor. But don't forget, in the 40s and 50s, the majority of the public were poor, very poor, yeah? Everybody was looking for work so they could survive. Elvis had a very normal upbringing. Mum and dad, living in a small house in Tupelo, Mississippi, Tupelo. Yes, he was in a poor area, so there were blacks and whites living close by. But he had a very normal childhood, playing with his friends. Sam Bell is a good example. He gives interviews playing with Elvis as a small child. And there's other people that give interviews playing with Elvis as a small child. He was completely normal. He had little toy cars, comics. As he says, he had the hero in the comic books. He gave away his comics. He gave away his toys. He shared everything he had. He would even sneak into the cinema with his friends. There was a segregation barrier for the black friends that Elvis had. Elvis didn't see color. He saw everyone as equals. So Elvis would jump over the division and sit with his black friends. He would sit with his black friends. He didn't see color. Sam Bell and other people have all said Elvis treated everyone as an equal because that's what they were. A Christian boy who went to church with his parents, the Assembly of God. You get it, guys? Elvis would go into church. Everyone would be singing. He would join in. He had such a beautiful voice. You get it, guys? Elvis is as normal as it gets. A humble boy. A normal boy. With loving parents. Who'd lost his twin brother at birth. His father had been put in prison for alleged check fraud. So Elvis had to look after Mum when he was very small. The point I'm trying to make, guys, is Elvis was normal in every sense of the word, other than the fact that he had this beautiful voice that he discovered very early on that he could sing beautifully, that people liked to listen to him sing. He loved singing gospel songs, Christian songs. He loved singing in church. You get it, guys? So whenever people try and tell me that Elvis wasn't normal, you're so wrong. He was one of the most normal people that ever lived. But yes, eventually when they moved to Memphis, we've all seen that picture of Elvis on his bike. Eventually, and that bike, they still have that bike at Graceland's. It was recently discovered, wasn't it? I think it was a fan that found it. A fan spotted the bike hanging in Graceland's, and then it was restored. I think Spa Guy was involved in that process. But the point I'm trying to say, guys, you know, Elvis, a 13-year-old boy riding down the road on his bicycle. That's about as normal as it gets. And I'll try and dig it out for you guys. I know all the jobs that Elvis had. When he was very young, he worked. I'd like to find that and read it all out to you. I read a book. I think the author is called Judy. I think her book may be called Baby Bird. And there was a list of all the jobs Elvis had when he was very small. You know, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, those sort of ages. Quite a few jobs. Elvis was always looking to be well paid. He wanted to help his mum and dad pay the bills. Eventually, he ends up at Crown Electrics. Quite a well-paid job. Hoping, as a driver at first, but then hoping, once Elvis got to Crown Electrics, he's already had 4 or 5 jobs. But eventually he gets given a job, I'm pretty sure, as a driver of Crown Electrics, hoping to become an electrician, because he heard it was well paid, it was a good career. So then he wants to make a record for his mum. So he walks into Memphis Studios, Memphis Records, Sun Records, which sets him on a path to stardom, sets him on a path he could never even have imagined, never even dreamed of. Riches beyond belief how successful Elvis became, all because of that That's All Right Mama, Chewy Phillips, Sam Phillips. Elvis, when he became famous, was still very, very normal. We look at his short romance in Biloxi with June Junico, a beautiful girl who'd been to one of his gigs. Elvis noticed how beautiful she was and reached out and held her hand. Where you going? And then months later, romanced her, I think, for 3 weeks. And we all know about the fishing trips that he did in Biloxi. He spent 3 weeks in Biloxi just before the song Hound Dog was released and Don't Be Cruel. 2 of the biggest hits that Elvis ever had. Elvis was still very normal. Fame hadn't altered Elvis in 1956. Yes, he was super famous. The whole world was about to open up in front of him. But that boy on that boat with June Junico, and on the second trip he took his parents, Vernon and Gladys, and Red West was there, and a few others, and they were fishing, shows them catching the fish, shows him his mother Gladys feeding him a peanut butter sandwich. A very normal Elvis, just pranking around, you know, messing around. His parents looked really happy, overjoyed. I would say even his parents just couldn't believe the fame that he was getting. Elvis Presley, their son, their beautiful boy, the surviving twin, was suddenly becoming the most famous man on the planet. I don't think even they ever imagined just how much more fame was coming their way. You can tell on that fishing trip, there's no way they thought that Gladys was going to pass only at 46 years old, within a few years, when Elvis was on basic training. So Elvis, a very normal boy, shoots to stardom, becomes a household name. Millions watch him on TV. Everyone knows the Ed Sullivan Show, and there was a few other shows. No one could have dreamed the success this man was going to go on to have. This beautiful man, this Christian, religious, Bible-loving, praying human being that loved the world, that appreciated everything. A very insecure man who didn't realize how good he was. Didn't realize that he looked, in his personality, in his charm and charisma, gave him a heart, the most generous heart you could ever have. Elvis had it. So Elvis, I say this to you guys, Elvis was very normal, very normal. But then once the pressures of fame kick in, obviously Elvis does his time in the army, serves his country, a very proud American who loved his country, who wanted to fight for his country, was proud to serve for his country. I think Elvis was still very normal when he did his service, not expecting to lose his poor mum. And he never got over losing his mum, did he, guys? We know this. We know about the friendship with Priscilla, but then he moves on, doesn't see Priscilla for 2 years and 3 months. He has other girlfriends. He goes back to Anita Wood. Anita Wood dearly loves him. She gets her heart broken because Elvis wasn't ready to settle down. He wasn't ready to have a family. He was too young. He had just gone into this world of fame and success, and Elvis wanted to experience life. He gave in to the normal temptations that any young man would. Of course, a young, good-looking man was gonna enjoy life, just like any other hot-blooded young man would. Doesn't make him a bad person because he had girlfriends. It makes him normal. So eventually, he goes to the movies. He just becomes even more famous, even more famous. Everyone in the world knew who Elvis Presley was. There's a story that I read the other day that Muhammad Ali went to a very remote church in Africa, and there was a Bible, just one single Bible just there in this church. There was nothing else. And Muhammad Ali picked up the Bible, opened it up, and there was a picture of Elvis Presley in that Bible, in the middle of nowhere in Africa. Doesn't that say it all about Elvis? How much he was loved and adored in every country, and still is. He's still loved and adored in every country around the world, and he will always be. Will always be. And this is why we run a channel called Defending Elvis, because the world needs to be reminded just how great Elvis was, how lovely he was, what a decent human being he was. The world needs to be reminded of this by people like us, his devoted fans, who also defend Lisa Marie. Elvis was the most normal man in the world, with an extraordinary talent that changed the world, changed hundreds of millions of lives. Let's face it, guys, Elvis is still changing thousands of lives every day as we speak. God-given talent that he had. I think Elvis would be amazed that even now in 2021, how old would he be? 90 odd? In 2021, he's still changing lives. He's still changing the world. He's still affecting the world. He's still loved by tens of millions. Now the very least we can do as fans who love Elvis is try and fix all the bullshit that is said about him by so many people that just literally don't understand the truth, don't know the truth, have been brainwashed in believing the lies. Society has been tricked and brainwashed for the sake of money by the people that were closest to Elvis. They believe the bullshit. Elvis is defined by how sick he was the last 3 years of his life. Elvis is defined by the fact that he was not ready for marriage, to settle down. The world doesn't know how sick Elvis was. Ba-da-ba, I'm ready. So, I'm done really. See you later.
Elvis.
Hang on.
Hi from the UK.
It's Team Elvis.
Team Elvis. Team Andreas.
Me and my brother, we're going into town for a walkabout.
Yeah, I might get an ice cream.
Yeah, we'll get an ice cream. I'm not allowed ice cream, but I may have one. Bye, guys.